The stars stretched endlessly across the dark sky, and humanity's newest fleet sailed quietly through the void. Commander Alex Reynolds stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, his eyes scanning the holographic displays that showed the approaching alien vessels. They were massive, tall, glimmering ships with sharp edges that reflected the distant starlight. The aliens called themselves the Vorin, and their arrival at human space had caused a mix of excitement and tension among Earth's leaders. Reynolds kept his hands clasped behind his back. He was calm, as always, but inside he felt the weight of responsibility. This was history. First contact with a civilization far older and more advanced than humanity. Everything depended on him and his crew. "Commander," said Lieutenant Sarah Bennett, her voice steady despite the tension, "the Vorin fleet is forming a perimeter around the neutral zone. They're sending a message." Reynolds turned to the communications officer. "Patch it through." A series of harmonic tones filled the bridge, accompanied by flashing lights that seemed almost alive. The human translators hummed as the AI worked to interpret the patterns. Slowly, a message appeared on the screen. "We come in peace. We seek dialogue and knowledge." Reynolds allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Keep our shields active, but stand down weapons. Let's show them humanity can meet them with respect." The Vorin ships moved with precision, and as the humans approached, small landing craft descended to the neutral zone, a region of space chosen for the meeting. Reynolds led a team aboard the Intrepid to meet the first group of aliens. When the Vorin arrived, Reynolds was surprised at their size. Each one was over 2 meters tall with smooth, scaled skin that shimmered in shades of blue and green. Their eyes glowed faintly and their movements were deliberate and graceful. Despite their intimidating appearance, Reynolds noticed something in their gestures, a curiosity, a careful politeness. "Welcome," Reynolds said, bowing slightly as a sign of respect. "I am Commander Alex Reynolds, representing humanity. We are honored to meet you." The lead Vorin tilted its head, emitting a low melodic hum. A translator device converted it into words. "We are pleased to meet you, humans. We hope for friendship and mutual understanding." Over the next few hours, the humans and Vorin exchanged information about their worlds, cultures, and technologies. Reynolds watched closely, taking mental notes on every detail. The Vorin seemed open, yet there was an underlying intensity to their presence. He noticed the way they constantly scanned their surroundings, the subtle adjustments of their bodies, and the almost mechanical coordination of their ships. "Sir," Bennett whispered, "I think they're observing more than they're sharing. Their formations, they're too perfect for just a friendly visit." Reynolds nodded. "Agreed, but we keep diplomacy first. Any misstep could start a war before we even know what they want." For a brief moment, it seemed as if the meeting would go smoothly. The Vorin asked questions about human technology, especially faster-than-light travel and energy weapons. They seemed fascinated by human creativity and adaptability, something their rigid structures did not often encounter. Then, a minor incident broke the calm. One of the Vorin scouting ships drifted into a human-designated restricted sector. Sensors picked it up immediately, and the humans fired a few warning pulses, non-lethal, meant only to signal the intrusion. The Vorin reacted instantly. Their lead ship projected a warning light and a message. "This is aggression. You have violated our space." Reynolds' stomach tightened. "It's a misunderstanding. Send a message, no harm intended. Please withdraw your craft." But the Vorin did not respond. Their ships shifted into tighter formations and their hums became sharper, more urgent. Humans on the bridge whispered nervously. The tension was like a live wire running through the room. "Commander," said Chief Engineer Miguel Torres, "they're preparing for combat. Their energy signatures are rising, shields at full." Reynolds stayed calm, his mind racing through options. Diplomacy had been working until this accident. Now the possibility of war hung over the neutral zone. He pressed a button and activated the bridge-wide communication system. "This is Commander Reynolds of the Intrepid. We have no intention of harming your scouts. Stand down. Let's talk before this escalates." For a moment, there was silence. Then a low, resonant tone vibrated through the ship. The message was clear, translated by the AI. "Humans cannot be trusted. Prepare to defend yourselves." The human crew tensed. Reynolds looked around at them. Young officers, engineers, and pilots, all ready for the fight that might come at any moment. He drew a deep breath. "Listen carefully," he said firmly. "We will defend ourselves if attacked, but we will continue to offer dialogue. Remember, we are not just a crew. We are humanity's first ambassadors. Let's show them what that means. The Voran fleet began to move in formation, their ships spreading like a living storm across the neutral zone. Human sensors tracked each movement, each shift of energy and weapon charge. For every human ship, there were 3 Voran ships. Yet Reynolds did not panic. He trusted in the skill and courage of his crew, and in humanity's ability to surprise even the most advanced civilizations. As the first battle lines began to form, Reynolds allowed himself one thought. History would remember this moment not for fear, but for the courage of a single human crew facing an alien armada. He gripped the railing of the bridge and whispered to himself, "We will survive. We will show them what humans can do." The Intrepid powered its engines, moving slightly ahead of the fleet, positioning itself between the Voran ships and the human colonies nearby. Every sensor on the ship scanned for threats, and every crew member prepared for the moment when diplomacy might fail and action would be necessary. Above all, Reynolds knew one truth. In the vast galaxy, humans were small, but their resolve was unmatched. This encounter would not end quietly. Something had changed, something deeper than misunderstanding. And soon, both sides would see just how far one human warship could go against an alien fleet. The stars gleamed coldly outside, but the Intrepid sailed forward unshaken, ready for the storm that was about to come. The vast darkness of space had never felt so tense. The Voran fleet glimmered like a wall of living steel, surrounding the human colonies on the edge of the sector. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Commander Alex Reynolds watched the enemy ships with steady eyes. Every movement they made was precise, almost mechanical, but he could sense their uncertainty. They had never faced humans like this before. Bold, unpredictable, and fearless, Commander, Lieutenant Bennett said, pointing to the holographic display. The Voran are advancing toward Colony Theta 7. Their bombardment ships are charging weapons. Reynolds' jaw tightened. Not if we can stop them. Prepare for intercept. Shields at maximum. Target their carriers first. We need to protect the colony at all costs. The Intrepid surged forward, engines flaring, weaving through the dense formation of Voran ships. Energy beams streaked across space, turning darkness into bright, dangerous trails. Most human ships struggled to keep up with the Voran speed, but the Intrepid was different. Its adaptive propulsion allowed it to dodge, twist, and outmaneuver enemies, giving Reynolds the advantage. "Fire the main cannons," Reynolds ordered. The Intrepid's weapons roared to life, striking a Voran strike carrier. Sparks erupted as the alien vessel's shields flared, then collapsed. Alarms screamed across the Voran formation. One ship down? The crew cheered quietly, but Reynolds remained focused. He knew this was just the beginning. Meanwhile, on the Voran flagship, Admiral Tharic observed the human ship with growing unease. "How can one ship cause so much damage?" he hissed, his voice low and commanding. "It should be impossible." Back on the Intrepid, Reynolds' mind raced. He had studied every bit of Voran strategy from intelligence gathered during the first contact. The Voran were strong, but their command structure was rigid. They relied on orders being followed without question. If he could exploit that, humanity could gain the upper hand. "Deploy decoy drones," Reynolds instructed. "Make them think the fleet is larger than it is." The bridge lights flickered as the AI projected dozens of decoy ships ahead of the human formation. The Voran, seeing the illusions, adjusted their attack patterns, dividing their fleet and creating openings. Reynolds seized the moment. "Take the left flank," he said to Lieutenant Chen, the tactical officer. "Hit the supply ships. We cut their support, we cut their advantage." The crew executed the plan flawlessly. Explosions lit up the dark expanse of space as Voran supply ships were destroyed or disabled. The Intrepid moved like a shadow among the chaos, striking where the aliens least expected. On Colony Theta 7, humans watched in awe as their defenders held the line. News feeds transmitted across the sector, and for the first time the colonies felt hope. Humanity was outnumbered, outgunned, but the courage and skill of one warship showed them they were not powerless. Hours passed, and the Intrepid had already turned the tide in several skirmishes. Reynolds felt the strain of constant engagement, but he refused to show fatigue. His crew mirrored his determination. They were more than soldiers. They were symbols of humanity's resilience. Then came the boldest move. Reynolds targeted the heart of the Voran formation, their flagship. He knew it was risky, The flagship alone had enough firepower to destroy the Intrepid multiple times over, but he also knew the Voran admiral was overconfident, expecting humans to scatter under pressure. "Prepare for high-speed assault," Reynolds said. "We go straight to the flagship. We disrupt their command and we show them humans are not afraid." The crew braced themselves as the Intrepid shot forward like a comet. Voran ships opened fire, energy beams scorching the void around them. But the Intrepid dodged, twisted, and returned fire with precision. Each strike disrupted shields and destroyed key systems on smaller ships. Inside the flagship, alarms blared. Admiral Therok's eyes widened in disbelief. "They're coming for me directly." "This is not possible!" Reynolds' voice came through the communication channel, firm and calm. "Admiral, stand down. We do not want unnecessary bloodshed, but we will defend ourselves and our colonies." For a moment, silence. Then a low hum vibrated through the alien ship, their version of shock. No human had spoken to the Admiral directly in this way with such courage. "Sir," Lieutenant Bennett said, "their energy output is fluctuating. They're not used to unpredictable attacks." Reynolds smiled slightly. "Exactly. We fight smart, not just hard." Using a combination of decoys, tactical maneuvers, and precise strikes, the Intrepid managed to isolate the flagship from its supporting ships. Explosions rocked the Voran fleet as smaller vessels were destroyed or forced to retreat. The flagship now floated alone, vulnerable. "Prepare boarding pods," Reynolds ordered. "We're going in. Disrupt their systems from the inside." The crew looked at him with trust and determination. They knew the risks, but they also knew that this bold action could end the battle before it spread further. The boarding pods launched silently, slipping past enemy sensors and attached to the flagship's hull. Inside the human pods, the crew moved swiftly, disabling key systems and evading alien security. Reynolds led the way, using his knowledge of alien architecture to anticipate their moves. Within minutes, critical weapons were offline, and the Voran crew was forced to retreat to their command centers. Back on the Intrepid, sensors confirmed the success. "Weapons offline," Lieutenant Chen reported. "They can't fire. Shields are down in sections." Reynolds allowed himself a moment to breathe. Humanity had struck a decisive blow, not with overwhelming numbers but with courage, intelligence, and teamwork. The Voran for the first time experienced fear and respect for humans. As the human boarding team returned to the Intrepid, Reynolds addressed his crew. "Today you have shown what it means to be human. We fight not just with strength but with creativity, courage, and determination. The Voran will remember this, and so will the galaxy." Outside, the stars continued to shine, cold and distant, but the human warship glowed like a beacon. The Intrepid had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, one human crew could make a difference. The Voran fleet, now scattered and cautious, began to pull back. Reynolds watched them retreat, knowing that this was not the end. They would test humanity again. But for now, the human colonies were safe, and one warship had shown the galaxy what it meant to underestimate humanity at its own risk. The Voran fleet had withdrawn, but tension still gripped the human colonies. Commander Alex Reynolds knew the aliens would not give up easily. The Intrepid drifted quietly in orbit above Colony Theta 7, engines humming softly, while sensors scanned for any signs of a returning attack. "Commander," Lieutenant Bennett said, pointing to the display, "the Voran are gathering again, but slower this time. Their formations are tighter, more cautious. They've learned from our previous encounters." Reynolds nodded. "Good. That means our strategy is working. Prepare the fleet for defense, but keep our focus on communication. If they want to negotiate, we need to be ready." The days that followed were tense. Humanity's fleets repaired damaged ships and strengthened defenses, while Reynolds worked tirelessly to establish a communication link with the Voran command. He knew that defeating them in battle alone would not guarantee lasting peace. The key was to show that humans were intelligent, brave, and reasonable, worthy of respect. Then the moment came. The Intrepid's sensors detected a small delegation approaching. It was a single, heavily shielded craft, distinct from the mass of warships. Reynolds recognized the protocol. This was a signal for negotiation. "Prepare for boarding," Reynolds said calmly. "This is our chance to end the conflict without more destruction." Inside the alien craft, the atmosphere was tense. Admiral Therok appeared, his scaled face showing signs of weariness. He had witnessed firsthand the humans' skill and courage, and now he faced them without the advantage of overwhelming force. Reynolds met him in the central chamber. The human captain's posture was confident yet respectful. "Admiral Tharok," he said, "we've shown you that humans are capable, but we also seek peace. Let's find a solution that protects both our civilizations." The Voran admiral's deep voice resonated in the chamber. "Your people are unpredictable, brave, and dangerous. I underestimated humanity." "You do not fight like others in the galaxy." Reynolds nodded. "We do not rely on numbers alone. We rely on courage, intelligence, and teamwork. But we also know that war destroys everyone, regardless of who wins." The admiral paused, considering. The human words, combined with the undeniable proof of the intrepid skill, forced him to rethink the situation. For the first time, he saw humans not as weak and insignificant, but as a species capable of ingenuity and honor. "We will agree to a ceasefire," Tharok finally said, "but trust must be built slowly. Our fleets will withdraw to their territories. Further contact will be monitored carefully." Relief washed over the human delegation. Reynolds allowed himself a small smile. "Agreed, and humanity will respect the boundaries you set. We hope this is the beginning of a long and peaceful relationship." Back on the Intrepid, the crew celebrated quietly. They had not only survived impossible odds, but they had also proven that humanity could hold its own against a civilization far more advanced. The warship had become a symbol of resilience, a beacon of what humans could achieve when courage and intelligence combined. Reynolds walked the corridors, visiting each station, offering words of encouragement. "Today you've shown the galaxy what humans can do," he told them. "We protect our colonies, we fight with honor, and we act with wisdom. That is our strength." Outside, the stars shimmered peacefully. The Voran ships retreated into the darkness, leaving the colonies safe. Humanity had won not by sheer firepower, but by strategy, courage, and unity. The galaxy had taken notice. In the following weeks, diplomats from both species began formal negotiations. Knowledge was exchanged, trade agreements were discussed, and cultural understanding grew. Humanity, once considered small and weak, had earned a place in interstellar relations. Reynolds stood on the bridge one evening, gazing at the stars. He thought about the battle, the tension, and the courage of his crew. One human warship had stood against an alien fleet and changed the course of history. He knew challenges would come again, but now humanity had proven something vital. Fear could not define them, and no enemy was unbeatable when humans worked together. The Intrepid's engines glowed softly, a reminder of the journey still ahead. Reynolds whispered to himself, "This is just the beginning. Humanity will not be ignored. We will stand tall, even among the stars." As the Voran withdrew completely, a message appeared on the Intrepid's main screen, a simple signal of respect. "You are not like the others. We will remember." Reynolds allowed himself a moment of quiet pride. Humanity was small in the vast galaxy, but its spirit was limitless. One human warship, one crew of brave souls, had shown that courage, intelligence, and unity could defy even the most advanced civilizations. The stars outside were infinite, but now, humanity had made its mark. The Intrepid sailed forward ready to explore, protect, and defend. The galaxy had seen the power of humans, and it would never forget.